Here and Now, the program featuring the news and interests of the African American community. Here's your host, Sandra Bookman.
Coming up, uncovering the little-known stories of African Americans in Westchester County. We're going to introduce you to the village historian of Ossining, New York. Plus, Eric the Reptile Guy takes young viewers on an adventure to Costa Rica in his new PBS series. That's all ahead on this half-hour edition of Here and Now. Uncovering and sharing little-known stories of African Americans is a lifelong passion for one woman in New York's Westchester County. It also happens to be part of her job. There's the Black-owned Rising Sun Golf and Country Club and the formerly enslaved man who became a successful oysterman and homeowner. Both of these stories uncovered through genealogical research. Here to tell us more is the village historian from Ossining, New York, and author of Captured Legacy, Joyce Chirac Cole. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today. To say you have a passion for history, yes, I think would be an understatement. Has this been a lifelong love of yours?
Absolutely, it hasn't. First, thank you for having me here. No, I actually could not connect to history when I was younger. Mm-hmm. I didn't see myself in it. I loved stories, but I didn't see myself. It wasn't until family reunion when my mother voluntold me that I'll be helping, that an elder
voluntold,
yes, that I would be helping with it. And one of my elder relatives said, "I have some history about our family." And I said, "I really want to see that," because I never knew anything. And from that moment, I was captivated and inspired and empowered by the contributions of my family. And slowly I started to learn more about my community and how it was shaped by those that looked like me. Mm-hmm. And then I went head, feet, and whole body in. And
because then it wasn't just dead history to you, no. It was actually somehow your own history.
Absolutely. It came to life. American history looked totally different to me. I went back and relearned what I was taught with myself and other people looking like me inserted in it.
Because you felt a real connection to it.
I was so connected to it.
Now, as the historian, yes, of the village of Ossining, mm-hmm, is that why you love this job? Is that what you get to do, to connect the people there with Ossining's history?
Yeah, so we're all usually influenced by teachers that impact us. And my social studies teacher made me fall in love with Ossining, Mr. O. He's still alive. I'm a fan of his still. But when I got into the position with genealogy as my background, the buildings are wonderful, the architecture is beautiful, but there is nothing like the story of resilience, mm-hmm, in people. And I said, why not make people fall in love with this place again in learning how people made it what it is today? So I started to look at everything from a genealogical lens. And that's when I shared with everyone, is I'm going to go into the schools, I'm going to teach them how to look at our history, but to see the people that made it possible.
So when you say genealogical lens, exactly, yes, what do you mean?
So genealogy, the study of one's history. Mm-hmm. So when I go in and I'm researching, I'm looking at a census document. It's not purely just there was a person on the street. I want to know what that person did. What did Bob do for a living?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You want to fill in all those blanks so you can get a more complete picture.
Absolutely.
Why is the work so important to you? It sounds like it's not only important to you, gives you so much joy.
It does. I give this analogy, and I tell people, we all want to feel connected. We all want to learn our place. We spend most of our childhood trying to fit in. And I imagine us walking around without being plugged in. Mm-hmm. And those that get plugged in, that know their lineage, that know the power of knowing who you are, what your family contributed. I got plugged in, and that changed my life dramatically. And I needed other people to plug in, because when you walk with purpose, your posture is different. Mm-hmm. You look at yourself differently. You can combat people that are trying to suppress you. It kind of bounces off a little more, yeah, because you're so grounded and plugged in.
And in who you are,
absolutely,
where you came from.
Absolutely.
And who your people are, as
right.
folks like to say.
That's right.
One of the things we loved about your story is some of the stories that you have already successfully, yes, uncovered and shared with the rest of the world. One of them, talk to me about that golf club. That it was like the first, yes, African-American owned country club and golf club in
Westchester.
In Westchester.
So in Westchester County, the first was actually in New Jersey. But the one in Westchester, I found it by accident. I was looking into my own family and my uncle, who was a professional golfer in Westchester, one of two. And I accidentally came across a Black-owned golf and country club. And after running in a circle, trying to figure out where this was, it turned up to be this incredible story of resilience and vision. And it wasn't about the golf course. It was about making a place where people have tried to exclude you, but making our own. We always talk about we want to see it at the table. And these visionaries said, we don't care if we don't have a seat at the table. We're going to create our own.
Yeah, create our own.
Yes.
The Rising Sun.
The Rising Sun Golf and Country Club. So it was formed in 1936 by a group of people from all over Westchester County. And they not only started this golf and country club, they had a vision of Black people being able to self-sustain by doing everything themselves. So the leisure of a country club, and not only that, they wanted the who's who to come. They wanted a place to gather safely. So it was a meeting place. It was a place that you can spend the weekend in the country. So it was meant to be more than a country club.
But they ran into some issues. A lot of opposition
Absolutely.
to the club even existing.
Yes.
And eventually.
Yes, from the onset, they did come into some issues. However, the gentleman that was white was selling the club to them. He protected them. So we have some allies and co-conspirators all the time. And this gentleman did try to protect their identity. And they did come up against a lot of community members trying to stop the sale. They could not do it that way. They even tried to send the Klan after them.
Yeah.
It did not work. They reported in the newspaper erroneous reportings, and people on this board were reporters, so they knew how to combat that.
Yeah.
How they got them was legally in court. They tied them up until the money dried out.
And they had no.
And they forced them into bankruptcy.
Yeah, and now, what was Rising Sun is now?
Hudson Hills Golf Course, owned by Westchester County.
Okay. Another story you uncovered, one of the first Black businessmen in Ossining.
Yes.
Who, I mean, a property owner, an oyster man, I think, at the time, because oysters were a big business on the Hudson.
Absolutely.
And his name?
Louis Brady. Yeah, Louis Brady. One of the first stories I was asked to report in my position as historian was about Louis Brady. And everyone talked about he was such a revered man. I said, well, what about him? And no one could give me a story. After maybe 5 hours researching on newspapers, I ran into an article. When he was 107 years old, he sat with a reporter, and he talked about his life and journey to Ossining. And because I do everything from a genealogical lens, I made a tree on every person he mentioned. Every fact that he made, I double-checked it, and that story was remarkable.
Yeah, and he was formerly enslaved.
Formerly
He
enslaved.
escaped to freedom.
Yes, his father was enslaved by George Washington. He went by foot most of the way by help of Quakers, and made his way to Ossining, where he purchased his home in cash. And this is still during the time of enslavement in the South. New York had just come out of it, and he bought his home in cash and was welcomed into this community.
That was a big deal.
A huge deal.
At that time in
Yes,
history.
Absolutely.
I want you to talk to me a little bit about your book, Captured Legacy.
Yes.
You put this together for the Bethany Arts community.
Yes.
And it's a series of exhibits.
Correct.
It's just a wonderful walkthrough, not only history in your area, but a lot of Black American history.
Yes. So Captured Legacy, Bethany Arts Community is a nonprofit that offers a space and a place for artists to express and build. And I was able to do that. I envisioned a place where I would see Black History Month more than just on the walls with, I call them the February specials, the Malcolm and Martin. And although we're inspired by them, there are people that are extraordinary in our own communities that have paved the way and reshaped our country. And I started to unravel that history and unearth it in my own community. And I needed a way in a place to show it with dignity and pride. So Bethany Arts Community gave me the entire gallery space, which is about 8 rooms, and I displayed for 5 years history in a beautiful way. All of the school districts in the surrounding area have come through. We've went from visitorship of approximately 200 to over 6,000 and having a docent program. So this book, Captured Legacy, is the first 4 years of content with a sneak peek of the 5th year.
Yeah, wonderful photographs.
Thank you.
Accomplishments that I didn't have any idea about. And one of the names it's mentioned in the book, and Sojourner Truth, who I think that we all learned about. Just even her story, there was part of her story that I really didn't know.
And most people don't know that Sojourner Truth was not always Sojourner Truth. She was Isabella Van Wagner. And the moment that she turned into the person we revere today happened as a result of her entire life, but spending time in the cult that was situated in Ossining, where she witnessed things that did not align with her religious beliefs. And at that moment, she said, I am no longer who you thought I was. I am now Sojourner Truth. So I wanted to tell that story.
Went to court.
She went to court.
And she won her case. She was trying to get her son.
So that was the first time. Sojourner Truth took white men to court twice. The first time was to get her son Peter back. That didn't happen in Ossining. When she went to court in Westchester County, in that cult, they accused her of murdering someone. And she got off. But she did not sue about that. She sued because they defamed her. And she won.
Yeah. She was a tough cookie.
She really was.
So I just want to, before I let you go, what do you say to folks when you're trying to get them to understand why knowing, who you are?
Absolutely.
Knowing, the connections in your community, why that's so important. I think you mentioned it earlier about being, plugged in.
Yes.
It makes you walk differently. It makes you feel differently.
Yes. Your posture changes. There is power in knowing who you are. If you want to be inspired and empowered and to empower a next generation and for them to see themselves reflected in history fully and truthfully, you have to do the work. And it's not people that we can't touch. These are people that are ordinary in our communities that have done extraordinary things in their vision and their work and contribution. So it's so important that we are documenting what we're doing, because even you sitting here in 50 years, someone is going to research and be inspired by the work you've done. So it's important that we do that, so we're inspiring the next generation and empowering them to keep going.
Yeah, because what you do does matter.
It
no
does.
matter how small you think your footprint is,
Absolutely.
it matters.
Part of the puzzle.
Yeah. I want to send folks to bethanyarts.org. You can find out more about the wonderful work that this you find at this community center, but also to take a look at these exhibits. And the book is absolutely fabulous.
Thank you so much.
Captured Legacy. Joyce Sherrod Cole, thank you so much for sitting down with us this afternoon. And continue to do this wonderful work. You're like a detective.
I love it. Sleuthing.
Okay. We'll be right back. Eric the Reptile Guy travels the world in search of amazing wildlife to share with young audiences. His new PBS series, Meng Heidi, takes viewers on an adventure in Costa Rica, where scientists study endangered species and environmental conservation. Take a look. Meng Heidi!
Time to step outside. It's time to follow your dreams. It's time to step into nature and see things you never seen. A quest to love our planet. Like snakes, it's time to uncurl. The bees are brought to endanger. Let's go around the world. Let's go.
Joining us this afternoon from Coweta National Park in Costa Rica is founder and director of Eric's Reptile Adventure, and that's adventure with an E for education, Eric Callender. Welcome back. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Sandra.
So you're in Costa Rica. It honestly, it sounds like Costa Rica was made for you, or you were made for Costa Rica. You must absolutely love it.
Yeah, well, Costa Rica, it's been amazing to be here. I'm so fortunate to be in this moment. I've been here now for 2 years filming the series, and it's been absolutely wonderful to work with the people here in the Cahuita National Park, but also all throughout Costa Rica. So we've been in filmed 6 episodes here. So 5 all the way solely in the Caribbean coast in Cahuita, and another place called Puerto Viejo. And we've been here for, like I said, 2 years filming, and now it's finally done.
So you're about to, in fact, start your second season, right?
Yes, this is season number 2. Our first season of Menghide was actually in Madagascar and also in the United States. And this season, totally in Costa Rica. And it was a gift because my professor, Dr. Patricia Wright, encouraged me to go to the rainforest in Costa Rica. And when I came here, I was like, you know what? I've been to Costa Rica a few times and I love it here. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do it here in the national park. And yeah, that's how it started. That's what happened.
And it's absolutely beautiful. Now, your target audience, children between the ages of 7 and 12.
Yes.
You're on PBS stations in the U.S. You've been airing since November of 2022. What is the idea here? What is it that you are trying to do with your young audience?
Well, the most important thing with Menghide, for people to understand, is that Menghide, first of all, needs to have a deep, loving connection to all living things. That's the first thing. So the connection to living things, to animals, is really important. In Costa Rica, the thing about Costa Rica is Costa Rica does not have an army. They put all the money into education, into nature, into wildlife preservation. And so that was very attractive to me. And that's why I have been here so many times. In fact, right now is the 19-year anniversary since my first trip to Costa Rica. And being here reminds me of that. And as you know, we've worked together before. And I had my animal shows with the live animals in the schools. And something happened. I realized that the animals should be free. And when I started the show Menghide, we had filmed in Madagascar and we're filming animals out in the wild that were actually free and didn't touch any animals, didn't have any animals in cages. And that was the huge change for me. And that was the purpose of the show, for people to understand that the animals have a real purpose in the wild, like an ecological purpose, but also just they're beautiful, and to connect with them, that connection between humans and animals is what the show is really all about.
Yeah. And one of the things we love about you is that, you're so great, the reptile guy, you were bringing the animals for children to see, and you still have that relationship with New York City school children, right?
Yes, we still have the relationship. So it didn't end. So when it just transformed. That's what we call it, a transformation or an evolution. The evolution really was when I realized that we were no longer going to do animal shows. In 2022, I believe, was my last in-person animal show. And that was the year that we were creating season number 3. In fact, I was with an Oscar-winning actress. I met her, who inspired me while I was in Madagascar. Her name is Juliette Binoche. And we met in Madagascar, and we became friends. And it was really funny because I was like watching her do a special show about the pandemic and how organizations, and my mentor, Dr. Patricia Wright, who works at the Bioresearch Station, how she was working with lemurs and animals and how she was connecting to them. And when I watched them do all the production and the direction, I was like, you know what, Eric, it's time to do your show. And that's literally when the PBS show started. I submitted it when I returned from that trip to Madagascar, and literally my friend's like, why aren't you submitting the show to PBS? I'm like, all right, I'm going to submit it now. It was April of 2022. In May of 2022, we got the acceptance, and literally everything started to transform. So I did my last animal shows that year. And February 2023, I came to Costa Rica, and I never looked back. And we continued to do shows with students in New York City, but virtually, live from the rainforest.
PBS recently, a lot of concern about PBS and federal funding cuts. How is your show funded? Is that of any concern to you, that losing support?
Well, the thing is first of all, when you have a dream, you hold on to your dream, you do your dream, and you don't let anything stop the dream. So the dream is really to connect people to nature all around. And so I was a little concerned when I found out that PBS, the government was cutting the funding, the federal funding to PBS. However, PBS is public television. So public television is for everyone, and people support it. So, not just the government, but like communities support their own PBS stations. And so I just actually got a letter from Detroit PBS, who is our presenting station now. They actually sent us a letter saying that that we have a strong community nationwide that's supporting PBS. And so some people love PBS, some people may not, but for us growing up with Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers and Reading Rainbow and all those shows, Lydia's Kitchen If You Cook, those shows really formed a lot of people in America, like their values and systems and things. And so, so for us, we're going to continue on. The show's still airing, and they have streaming services now, so people watch TV differently. And so it's really important to understand that the PBS funds are still there because the community's supporting it. So yeah, that's
it is an important show. And look, you mentioned all those Big Bird and the rest of them on Sesame Street. I'm sure their little kids will be all over Eric the reptile guy for years to come. And Ming Heidi, am I saying that right?
Meng Haidi. Okay. Meng Haidi. So the word Meng Haidi is a word that it means. So the word Meng Haidi is Hyatt actually means life. The word Hyatt means life, and so it means the connection to life. And so Meng Haidi. Yeah, that's how you say it. Meng Haidi.
I know
it's not an easy word to say, but
you're so excited.
It means a lot.
You make me happy. I'm not so sure about all those reptiles, but when I see you, you make me happy. If I send folks to mingheidi.org, they will have a list of the shows you're working on, the programs that are going to be airing, and if they want to support your show, they can do it at that website as well?
Yes, and also they can go to mingheidi.org for the information, but also they can also go to pbs.org as well and just put in Meng Haidi, MENGHAYATI, and they can get it. They can get it there as well.
And I should mention before I let you go, you are a son of Queens, veterinary science degree, biology degree. You know your stuff, and you're doing what you love, and educating, entertaining a whole generation of kids, and we appreciate you for it, Eric. Thank you so much,
Sandra. I really appreciate you. And I just want to clarify one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that where I am here, there's not only reptiles here. There's all sorts of animals. We have sloths. We have episodes with whales. We have episodes with sharks. We have episodes with all creatures. And so by not just doing reptile shows and being the reptile guy, it actually expanded my vision to include all animals. And so I just wanted to clarify that.
Eric Callender, yes, my issues, we don't want to make that everybody's issues. Thank you so much. Enjoy your visit there. You're doing wonderful work. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Appreciate you. Thanks for having us again.
Bye-bye. We're going to come right back. Thank you for joining us on Here and Now. If you missed any portion of today's show, you can watch at abc7ny.com/hereandnow or listen to our podcast wherever you subscribe. If you'd like to comment or share your story, email us at hereandnow@wabc.com or follow us on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Sandra Bookman. Enjoy the rest of your day.